Soft piano playing, a slow, lonely tune. The sound of a ticking clock in the distance. Then footsteps, slow, careful, uneven, echo through a grand, empty hallway. Her feet dragged along the marble floor. 9 months pregnant, Evelyn Carter pressed a hand against her aching lower back as she called out into the silence. "Nathan. Are you home?" Only silence responded, until a faint sound, a woman's laugh, a child's squeal, drifted down the corridor. She followed it. Carefully. Dreading what she already knew. At the end of the hallway, in the family room, Nathan sat with another woman. Lily Grace, draped in soft pink silk, smiled as twin toddlers clambered into her lap. Nathan chuckled, brushing a strand of her hair behind her ear as if Evelyn had never existed. Evelyn stood frozen. Her hand instinctively covered her swollen belly. "Nathan." He glanced over his shoulder, unfazed. "You're early." Lily looked up, beaming with syrupy sweetness. "Oh, Evelyn. We didn't expect you." "I was just helping Nathan with the boys. They're such little angels." Evelyn's lips trembled. "Those are my sons." Lily tilted her head. "Are they?" She brushed her fingers down the child's back. "I mean, I feed them, read to them, tuck them in. Maybe they don't see the difference anymore." One of the boys turned to Lily. "Mommy, look. I drew you a picture." Evelyn's breath hitched. Nathan stood up and said coldly, "You should knock before barging in. You're upsetting the kids." "This is my house," Evelyn whispered. He didn't answer. He just turned back to Lily, who smiled as if Evelyn were nothing more than a shadow on the wall. The night sparkled with chandeliers and cameras. Evelyn walked into the ballroom alone, every step deliberate. People turned to stare. A camera flash popped. A scream sliced through the air. Glass shattered. "She pushed me," Lily wailed, collapsing to the floor. "She tried to hurt the babies." "No. I didn't," Evelyn started, heart racing, eyes wide. A hand struck her cheek. Hard. The sound cracked through the silence. "Nathan." His face was twisted with disgust. "You're disgusting. Stay away from her." Cameras clicked in a frenzy. "She's a danger to the children," Lily whimpered, holding her stomach as if in pain. "I was just trying to help her." The room was spinning. Evelyn's face stung, not just from the slap, but from the heat of every eye watching her fall apart. Whispers rise, "She's insane, she hit the mistress?" "Did you hear about the mental breakdown?" Headlines flashing like gunshots. "Evelyn Carter attacks pregnant mistress, CEO's wife spirals out of control." Back at the mansion, her children wouldn't even meet her eyes. "Noah," she said gently, kneeling beside him. "Can mommy have a hug?" The boy looked up. "Lily says you're sick." "I'm not sick, sweetheart. I love you." Aiden frowned. "Then why do you make daddy angry all the time?" She turned toward her daughter. "Hope, baby." The toddler took a step back. "I want Lily. Not you." Evelyn dropped the toy she brought. It hit the floor with a soft thud. Her tears fell quietly as she turned and left the room, the home that no longer felt like hers. Later that evening, Nathan stood in the doorway holding a thick folder. "Sign it," he said flatly. Her hand trembled as she opened the envelope. "Divorce papers." "I'm due in 2 weeks," he didn't flinch. "I don't even know if it's mine." "You're throwing me away, like trash. You humiliated me, Evelyn. This is the consequence." Lily appeared in the hallway, holding one of the twins. She smiled. "We'll make sure the kids are okay. You can rest now." Rest. That word echoed in her skull like a funeral bell. Evelyn picked up the pen. And signed. Blizzard wind howls. Car tire screeched to a halt. "Lady, you okay? You're bleeding." A cab driver helped her into the back seat. "I'll take you to Mercy General." "Hang in there." Pain ripped through her stomach. Her hands pressed down, but the blood soaked through. She's in labor. We're losing her fast. Push, ma'am. You have to push. Evelyn screamed. Her body was too weak, too cold. But she pushed. And pushed. Then, cries. A newborn scream cut through the chaos. It's a girl, a nurse whispered. You did it. Evelyn held the tiny baby to her chest. Her eyes were already closing. I'll name you Hope. Because you're all I have left. The baby squirmed in her arms. Evelyn's voice faded. I'm sorry, baby. I couldn't protect you. And then, silence. A long pause. Heart monitor flatlines. Distant laughter echoes from another place. Far away, in a warm, golden room, Nathan raised a glass of champagne. Lily sat beside him, her eyes glowing with victory. To our family, Nathan said. To the future, Lily replied. Back to Evelyn, heartbeat slowing, breath quieting, and in that cold, empty room. Evelyn Carter took her last breath. Not a single hand reached for her. Not a single tear was shed. The world celebrated her death. And forgot she ever lived. A sharp gasp filled the air. Evelyn's lungs burned as if she had drowned and broken through the surface. The blinding hospital lights stung her eyes. Beeping machines echoed in her ears. Her heart pounded, not steadily, but frantically, like it didn't belong to her body. She looked down. Blood. Pain. She was in labor. No, no, this isn't possible, she whispered, her voice trembling. A nurse's face came into focus, leaning over her. Push, ma'am. The baby is crowning. Terror surged through Evelyn's veins. This moment, this pain, she knew it. She had lived this before. She remembered dying. She remembered holding her newborn daughter, naming her Hope, and then letting go. She remembered the cold, the silence, the final breath. She remembered Nathan laughing with Lily while she lay forgotten in a sterile hospital room. And yet, here she was. Back at the moment of her death, but this time alive. Push, Evelyn, another nurse shouted. A scream ripped from her throat as she bore down, every muscle in her body convulsing with agony and confusion. A cry filled the air, high, shrill, and alive. The nurse held up a baby, pink and wailing. It's a girl. Hope. Again. Evelyn blinked in disbelief, her vision blurry from pain and tears. Her arms trembled as they placed the baby on her chest. She felt the same warmth, the same heartbeat, but something was different this time. Her heart wasn't fading, it was awakening. Tears ran down her cheeks, not from fear or sorrow, but from fury. I died, she whispered hoarsely. I died, and no one cared. Her arms clutched the baby closer. Not this time. She wasn't sure how or why she had returned to this moment, but one thing burned in her soul like fire: she would not live that life again. She would not beg for scraps of affection. She would not allow her children to be poisoned against her. She would not let Lily Gray steal her home, her family, her identity. This time, she would walk away first. This time, she would let Nathan go. This time, she would live. A nurse gently tapped her shoulder. Would you like us to bring your husband in? Evelyn's head turned slowly. Her eyes, no longer dazed or desperate, had hardened into steel. No. He's not welcome. The nurse blinked, startled. You're sure? He's waiting outside with Miss Grace. Let him wait. I'm busy being born. The nurse, unsure of what to say, nodded and walked away. Evelyn turned back to her daughter and cradled her with both hands, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Welcome back, Hope. Mommy's here now. For real this time.
She didn't sleep that night. Her body was broken, but her mind was wide awake. She replayed everything in her head, every betrayal, every slap, every cold glance. The loneliness in the nursery. The silence at the dinner table. The fake smiles from Lily. The way Nathan held her hand in public and someone else's in private. She thought of the boys, Noah and Aiden, who barely remembered her. She thought of how they looked at Lily with love in their eyes, while she stood on the outside, begging to be seen. No more begging. She would not fight for a spot in a family that discarded her. She would create her own. The next morning, when Nathan finally walked in, he wore his usual mask of controlled irritation. Lily followed close behind, a fake concerned look plastered on her flawless face. "How are you feeling?" Nathan asked, but his eyes were cold, scanning her like a nuisance rather than a wife. Evelyn slowly turned to him, every ounce of her restraint channeling into calm words. "I want a divorce." Lily's mouth parted in shock. Nathan frowned. "What are you talking about?" "I said I want a divorce," Evelyn repeated, voice calm but cutting. "You don't love me. You never did. You only needed a womb and a shield. Now that you have Lily for everything else, you can have her. I'm done." "You're hormonal," he said, dismissing her. "No," she said firmly. "I'm finally awake." Lily stepped forward. "Evelyn, maybe we should talk about this later." Evelyn's eyes snapped to her. "You've done enough talking. I let you play the victim once. Never again." Nathan's jaw tightened. "You're being unreasonable." "No," Evelyn whispered. "For the first time in 10 years. I'm being honest." The silence stretched between them. Hope stirred in her arms and let out a soft cry. Evelyn didn't even flinch. She rocked her gently, her eyes never leaving Nathan's. "You can leave now. Both of you." Nathan's voice lowered, dangerously sharp. "Don't think this gives you any leverage." Evelyn smiled, a cold, haunting smile. "I don't need leverage. I only needed clarity." Lily tugged at Nathan's sleeve. "Let's go. She's not worth it." As they walked out, Evelyn felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. A nurse entered the room moments later. "Would you like us to help you with discharge planning?" Evelyn nodded. "I'm leaving today. With my daughter. I don't need anyone's permission." She looked out the window at the rising sun. Time to rewrite everything. The hospital doors slid open with a faint hiss. Evelyn stepped out into the crisp morning air, her arms wrapped tightly around the small bundle pressed to her chest. Hope slept soundly, unaware of the war her mother had already begun to fight. The sky was pale, touched with gold. For the first time in what felt like forever, Evelyn breathed deeply, not because she was calm, but because she was free. She didn't go back to the mansion. Instead, she took a cab to a small apartment complex on the edge of the city. It was far from luxurious. The stairs creaked, the hallway smelled of old paint, and the heater rattled like it was trying to cough itself awake. But it was hers. A tiny one-bedroom rental, paid for with the small savings she had quietly stashed away over the years. She'd always feared Nathan would find it, label her paranoid, accuse her of plotting. But now, it was her salvation. She stood in the middle of the living room with Hope in her arms and whispered, "Welcome home." The baby cooed softly, as if she understood. Evelyn spent the next weeks in solitude. She nursed Hope, wrapped her in warmth, sang lullabies no one had sung for her other children. Every time Hope cried, Evelyn was there. Every time she laughed, Evelyn cried. This was what motherhood was supposed to feel like. The silence was strange, at first. There were no maids whispering behind her back, no Lily pretending to care while poisoning her life, no Nathan judging her every breath. Just the sound of her daughter breathing, and her own heart slowly stitching itself back together. But pain lingered in the background. Memories of her boys haunted her.
Noah, who barely smiled anymore. Aiden, who had once clung to her neck like his life depended on it. And Hope, who had died in her arms the first time around. She couldn't undo the past, but she could choose differently now. One afternoon, Evelyn stood at the sink washing bottles when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Hello? Evelyn. Nathan's voice. Her heart didn't race. It didn't sink. It stayed still, heavy and unmoved. What do you want? She asked. You disappeared without saying a word. I told you everything at the hospital, she said coldly. You just didn't listen. There was a pause. Then, the boys are asking about you. Something inside her tightened. I see, she said quietly. Evelyn closed her eyes. They don't trust me. They barely know me. They're still your children, he said. And they're confused. They miss you, I think. Noah's been acting out. Don't, she snapped. You don't get to pretend now. Not after everything. I was wrong, Evelyn, he said. She almost laughed. Wrong? You stood beside the woman who ruined me, raised our children to think I was unstable, unloving, unworthy, and now you want sympathy? I didn't raise them to think that, he muttered. You didn't stop her, she replied. That's the same thing. Silence stretched again. Finally, he said, they need you. Whether you believe it or not. Evelyn's voice was calm but firm. I'll come see them. But not at your house. Not near Lily. You want me to rebuild something with my kids? Then give me space to do it without the woman who destroyed it. Nathan sounded tired. Fine. I'll bring them this weekend. She hung up before he could say anything else. Hope stirred in her crib, her tiny fingers reaching toward the light. Evelyn walked over and stroked her soft cheek. I'll get them back, she whispered. One at a time if I have to. The weekend came faster than she expected. Noah and Aiden stood awkwardly outside her apartment door, their backpacks slung over their shoulders, Nathan behind them with his hands in his pockets. Evelyn knelt down. Hi, my loves. Noah looked at her, unsure. Aiden stood a step behind his brother, clinging to the zipper of his jacket. Come in, she said gently. Inside, the boys wandered around the small space. No marble floors. No high ceilings. No maids or toys worth bragging about. But there were pancakes on the stove and the smell of cinnamon in the air. She didn't force them to talk. She let them eat, let them watch cartoons, let them sit in silence. When Hope cried, Evelyn excused herself, picked her up, and soothed her. The boys watched quietly. That night, as she tucked them into the fold-out bed, Aiden finally spoke. You don't yell anymore. Evelyn paused. Did you think I used to yell? He nodded. Lily said you were always angry. I wasn't angry at you, she said, brushing his hair back. I was angry because I felt alone. Were you sad? Yes, she whispered. Very sad. But not anymore. Noah turned over in bed. You still love us? Evelyn's voice cracked. With everything I have. Noah didn't answer. But when she leaned down to kiss his forehead, he didn't pull away. That was enough. After they left the next morning, Evelyn stood at the door, holding hope, and watched them disappear into Nathan's car. She wasn't the same woman who died alone in a hospital bed. She was a mother on a mission. She would reclaim everything they tried to take from her. She would heal herself. She would protect her children. And when the time came, she would make them all remember what they threw away. Not for revenge. Not for pity. But because she was done being silent. Evelyn stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. There were faint lines under her eyes. Her skin had lost its glow, and her body still ached from the trauma of birth and betrayal. But something else lived behind her eyes now: clarity. Purpose. Strength. She touched her cheek, then let her hand drop. It was time. Time to stop surviving. Time to build. After the boys' weekend visit, something inside her had shifted. Noah had smiled before leaving. Aiden had asked if she could come to his school play next month. They weren't fully hers again, not yet, but the cracks in the wall were showing. She was patient now. Patient and dangerous. One morning, with Hope sleeping quietly, Evelyn opened her laptop and searched through her old files. Business plans. Designs. Fashion sketches she'd once poured her soul into, only to have them laughed off by Nathan as a hobby. She hadn't even realized how much of herself had been buried under his shadow. But her mind was still sharp. She updated the business plan, refined her designs, and reached out to an old college friend, Miranda, a woman who now ran her own boutique brand. Within a week, they were on a video call. "I thought you disappeared off the planet," Miranda said, smiling through the screen. "Now I get it. You were in hell." Evelyn let out a quiet laugh. "Something like that. And now? I want to build something of my own," she said. "No investors. No strings. I just want to be in control again." Miranda leaned forward. "Then let's get to work." The days blurred into nights. Evelyn worked while Hope napped. She sketched at the kitchen table, researched suppliers, ordered fabric samples, and learned digital marketing like her life depended on it. Because in a way, it did. Her life depended on not being a victim anymore. One evening, she was answering emails when her phone buzzed. Nathan. She ignored the first call. He called again. She sighed and picked up. "What? You really started a clothing brand?" His tone was somewhere between confusion and annoyance. "Why do you care? You should have told me. It could affect." "It affects nothing," she cut him off. "We're divorced. My life is mine now." A pause. The boys mentioned it. She waited. "They're proud," he admitted reluctantly. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, letting the silence linger just long enough. "Good," she said. "They should be. Lily doesn't think it's a good look. You working like this." Evelyn laughed softly. "Of course she doesn't. A woman who stands on her own doesn't fit her version of me." "You're acting like I'm the enemy," Nathan muttered. "You were," she said coldly. "For a very long time. Maybe you didn't cheat with your body, but you let another woman take my place while I was still alive. You looked at me like a ghost and expected me to thank you for crumbs." "I didn't know." "You didn't care," she interrupted. He didn't respond. "I don't hate you anymore, Nathan," she said quietly. "But I won't ever need you again." And with that, she ended the call. Weeks passed. Evelyn's brand began to grow. Orders trickled in. Then flooded. She started a blog, Reborn by Evelyn, sharing stories of betrayal, motherhood, and rediscovery. Women connected with her honesty. Her pain became power. Her silence turned into a roar. One morning, she walked into a cafe to meet a potential investor. She wore one of her own designs, sleek, elegant, commanding. The man barely recognized her at first. "You look different," he said. Evelyn smiled. "I am." Later that week, Nathan arrived to drop the boys off. He stood awkwardly in the doorway, watching as Aiden ran into her arms and Noah pulled out a sketchpad to show her his latest drawing. "You look tired," she said to Nathan without sympathy. "It's Lily," he said, rubbing his eyes. "She's been difficult lately." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "The dream falling apart?" Nathan hesitated. "She's not who I thought she was." "No," Evelyn said, voice like steel. "She never was. You just chose not to see it." He looked around the apartment. "This place is small, but the boys seem happy here." "They are," she said. "They have a mother who sees them." Nathan looked down. "I made mistakes." She stood taller. "No, Nathan. You made choices. Now live with them." When he left, she didn't feel vindicated. She felt clean. Like shedding a skin. Hope giggled from her crib. Aiden and Noah sat on the couch, heads bent together, drawing superheroes. Evelyn walked to the window, the city humming beneath her feet. This was her kingdom now. Not made of marble, but built on survival. And one day, they would all look up and see the woman they left behind. Standing higher than any of them ever thought possible. It happened at a charity gala. The kind of event Evelyn used to attend on Nathan's arm, wearing borrowed diamonds and a forced smile. Back then, she was just the wife, a silent shadow of a powerful man. No one ever looked past her husband's name. But tonight, the spotlight moved with her. She walked in wearing a crimson gown of her own design, bold and brilliant. It hugged her waist, flowed with elegance, and shimmered with the quiet defiance of a woman who refused to shrink ever again. Cameras turned. Reporters leaned forward. Social media lit up. Wasn't that Nathan Cross's ex-wife? And who was she wearing? Herself. She was wearing herself. Evelyn felt every gaze. Every murmur. And yet, she kept walking, chin high, smile subtle, presence impossible to ignore. Across the room, she spotted them, Nathan and Lily. Nathan looked older. Tired. Like life had caught up with the lies. Lily still wore her mask, all sugar and silk, but her eyes twitched the moment she saw Evelyn. For the first time, it was Lily who shrank. Evelyn didn't stop walking. She made her way to the main table, where a panel of women entrepreneurs were seated. She took her place among them. She belonged here now. And the world needed to see it. Later that evening, during a live Q&A on stage, Evelyn was asked the question she'd secretly waited years to answer. What inspired you to start your brand? She took the mic slowly, her fingers steady, her eyes locking with Nathan's in the crowd. Pain, she said simply. The room fell silent. I was a woman who gave everything to a family that forgot me. I was betrayed, humiliated, discarded like an afterthought. My children were turned against me. My identity was buried beneath lies told in polite voices. And I died. Not once, but in pieces. Murmurs spread across the room. But I came back. And when I did, I realized something. If the world insists on misunderstanding you, stop explaining. Build something so powerful, they have no choice but to notice. There was a pause. She turned slightly toward the audience. To every woman who's ever been silenced in her own home, told she was too emotional, too weak, too dramatic. Let me tell you something, they don't get to write your ending. You do. Applause began. Then it thundered. Lily sat stiff in her chair, her smile frozen. Nathan stared at Evelyn like he'd never truly seen her before. Because he hadn't. After the event, Evelyn was flooded with interview requests, brand collaborations, offers to feature her story in magazines. She didn't answer right away. She took her time. She was no longer rushing to be seen. She had arrived. 2 weeks later, Evelyn was sitting in her apartment, sorting through sketches while Hope babbled beside her, when the doorbell rang. She opened it to find Noah standing there, alone. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, baby. Where's your dad? He dropped me off early. Said he'd pick me up later." She let him in, heart warm. As she poured him a drink and fixed a snack, he spoke quietly. "I saw your speech." Evelyn looked up. "I didn't know," he said. "About everything." "You were a child," she replied gently. "You weren't supposed to." He hesitated. "Why didn't you fight harder back then?" "For us?" Tears stung her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "Because I was dying," she said. "Not just physically. I was fading, and I didn't want you to watch me disappear." Noah walked over and wrapped his arms around her. "I'm sorry I believed her. I'm sorry I didn't see you." Evelyn held him close, heart aching and healing at the same time. "You're seeing me now," she whispered. The doorbell rang again. She opened it to find Nathan. He looked different. Not in the way he dressed, but in the way he carried himself. No longer superior. No longer untouchable. Just a man. Evelyn stood by the window, watching Hope toddle unsteadily across the living room floor. The little girl was giggling, chubby legs wobbling as she reached for the air with open hands. Her first steps. Evelyn dropped to her knees, tears springing to her eyes. "Come on, sweetheart, that's it," she whispered, arms outstretched. Hope stumbled once, caught herself, then toddled the final few steps into her mother's embrace. And for the first time Evelyn cried not from sorrow, but from joy. No nurse took this moment away. No sterile hospital room, no cold silence, no husband absent by choice, just her and her baby, heart to heart. The door opened and Aiden burst in, followed by Noah, both dropping their school bags at the door. "She walked?" Aiden asked, wide-eyed. "She did," Evelyn said, beaming. "You just missed it." Noah knelt beside her, placing his hand on Hope's tiny back. "It's okay," he said, smiling. "She'll do it again." Aiden grinned. "She's just like Mom. Always moving forward." The words hit Evelyn like sunlight. That night, the three of them ate dinner around the table. No tension. No false politeness. Just laughter. Shared stories. Real connection. It was the kind of evening she used to dream of, long ago, when she'd cry into a cold pillow while her husband laughed in another room with someone else. But now she was here. Now, she had everything they swore she'd lose. That week, Evelyn received an email, an invitation to a panel discussion on female entrepreneurship. Live broadcast. National coverage. A spotlight that could elevate her brand overnight. She hesitated. She no longer needed validation. But she remembered the women who still lived in shadows. Who still doubted their voice mattered. She replied, "Yes. I'll do it." The day of the panel, Evelyn arrived early, hair swept into a clean bun, wearing a sharp navy suit of her own design. Her brand's logo was pinned subtly at her chest. As she waited backstage, she heard it. Lily's voice. She turned, and there she was. Lily stood in the hallway, arguing with a producer. "You can't just cut my segment. I'm a public figure." The producer didn't flinch. "Public perception has changed. We have new guests now. Real stories. Stories people respect." Lily caught sight of Evelyn. For a moment, her expression crumbled. Then the mask snapped back on. "You," she hissed. "You think you've won?" "I don't think anything," Evelyn said coolly. "I just live my life." "You ruined everything." "No, Lily. You did that all by yourself. I just stopped pretending not to see it." Lily's lips curled. "Nathan regrets leaving you. He told me." Evelyn tilted her head. "Then maybe he can regret it in silence, where he left me." Lily blinked, speechless. "And for the record?" Evelyn added, voice low. "You don't matter anymore. You were never my competition. You were just a chapter one had to survive." Lily stepped back as if slapped. Evelyn walked past her. On stage, the lights were warm. The audience leaned forward. She spoke not with vengeance, but wisdom. Calm. Realness. When the panel ended, applause rose like a wave. Evelyn stood under it, no longer small. No longer forgotten. She was the woman they all said wouldn't make it. She was the mother they tried to erase. She was her own salvation. Weeks passed. Her brand hit national shelves. She bought a small house, sunny, quiet, full of windows, for her and the children. Aiden and Noah chose their rooms. Hope had her nursery. Nathan visited sometimes. Quietly. Respectfully. But Evelyn no longer needed to prove anything to him. She was kind, for the boys, but distant. Boundaries wrapped around her like armor she never took off. And Lily? She faded. A scandal surfaced eventually. Falsified charity funds. Leaked messages. Her polished image shattered. And when she tried to reach out to Nathan for support, he turned away. In the end, she stood alone, just as she once left Evelyn. One evening, Evelyn sat on the porch, Hope asleep in her arms. Aiden and Noah played on the grass, arguing about a soccer move. The sky turned gold. She closed her eyes and breathed. There were no cameras. No applause. No drama. Just the soft breeze, the scent of lavender, and the beat of her daughter's heart against her chest. This was everything. Not revenge. Not fame. Just peace. She had finally won. Not because they fell. But because she rose. And this time, she would never fall again.